What happens when a prince walks into one of America's most respected news programs and forgets that respect is a two-way street? In just 36 seconds of one single comment, everything fell apart. Prince Harry was escorted off the set of Anderson Cooper 360 degrees, never to return. Before we get into what happened, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling us what you think about all of this. Now let's dive in. Anderson Cooper has built a career on being calm, collected, and fair. For decades, viewers have trusted him to ask the tough questions while keeping his composure. He's interviewed presidents, world leaders, celebrities, and everyone in between. But nothing could have prepared anyone for what was about to unfold during what was supposed to be a straightforward interview with Prince Harry. The interview started normally enough. Anderson welcomed Harry onto the show with his usual professionalism. The studio lights were bright, the cameras were rolling, and the audience was eager to hear what the prince had to say. Harry walked onto the set with confidence, waving to the crowd as he took his seat across from Anderson. Everything seemed fine at first. Anderson opened with a simple question. "Thank you for being here. I want to start by talking about your new projects and what you've been working on lately. Can you tell us what's been keeping you busy?" Harry leaned back in his chair, a slight smile on his face. "Well, Anderson, I've been doing a lot of important work. Work that really matters. Work that's changing lives around the world. I'm not sure everyone fully understands the scope of what I'm doing, but that's okay. History will remember." Anderson nodded politely, keeping his expression neutral. "That's great to hear. Can you give us some specifics? What exactly are these projects?" Harry waved his hand dismissively. "There are so many, Anderson, so many. I'm involved in charitable work, media productions, speaking engagements. I'm trying to use my platform for good, which is more than I can say for some people." Anderson maintained his professional demeanor. "When you say using your platform for good, what does that look like in practice? Can you give our viewers a concrete example?" "Look," Harry said, his tone shifting slightly, "I don't think I need to justify every single thing I do. People know who I am. They know my heart is in the right place. That should be enough." Anderson pressed on gently. "I'm not asking you to justify anything. I'm just asking for clarity. Our viewers want to understand the work you're doing. That's why you're here, right? To talk about it?" Harry's expression changed. His smile faded, and his jaw tightened. "I agreed to come on this show because I thought you'd be different, Anderson. I thought you'd understand, but it seems like you're just like all the rest of them." "All the rest of who?" Anderson asked calmly. "The media, the press, everyone who's constantly trying to tear me down. Everyone who doesn't understand what it's like to live my life," Harry said, his voice rising slightly. Anderson leaned forward, his voice steady and measured. "Harry, I'm not trying to tear you down. I'm doing my job as a journalist. I'm asking questions. That's what interviews are. You knew that coming in." "Your job?" Harry scoffed. "Your job is to make me look bad. That's what this is really about, isn't it?" The audience shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Anderson remained calm, his decades of experience showing. "That's not true at all. My job is to have an honest conversation. I ask tough questions of everyone who sits in that chair. Presidents, celebrities, activists, everyone. You're not being singled out." Harry crossed his arms. "It certainly feels like I'm being singled out. Every question you're asking is designed to make me defensive. You're twisting everything I say." "I haven't twisted anything," Anderson said firmly but respectfully. "I've asked you about your projects, and you've been vague. I'm trying to give you the opportunity to share your message with millions of viewers. That's all." "My message?" Harry laughed bitterly. "My message is that I'm tired. I'm tired of people like you acting like you have the right to interrogate me. Do you know who I am? Do you understand what I've been through?" Anderson's expression remained composed. "I do know who you are, and I have great respect for what you've experienced, but that doesn't mean you're exempt from answering basic questions when you come on a news program. That's not how this works." Harry stood up slightly in his chair, his face reddening. "How dare you speak to me like that? I came here as a courtesy. I could have gone on any show I wanted. I chose yours. And this is how you treat me?" "I'm treating you exactly how I treat everyone else," Anderson replied, his voice still level. "With respect and professionalism, I'm asking reasonable questions. If you're uncomfortable with that, I'm not sure why you agreed to do the interview." "Uncomfortable?" Harry's voice grew louder. "I'm not uncomfortable, Anderson. I'm insulted. You clearly don't understand the position I'm in, the scrutiny I face every single day, the sacrifices I've made." Anderson took a breath, clearly trying to keep the conversation on track. I'm not questioning your sacrifices, but you have to understand that when you step into the public eye, when you do interviews, when you speak publicly, people are going to ask questions. That's part of the deal. Part of the deal? Harry shot back. You think I signed up for this? You think I asked to be born into the family I was born into? I didn't choose this life, Anderson. It was forced upon me. Nobody is saying you chose it, Anderson said carefully. But you are choosing to be here right now. You're choosing to do interviews and public appearances. And with that choice comes responsibility. The responsibility to engage honestly with the people who are listening. Harry shook his head, a look of disbelief on his face. This is unbelievable. You're lecturing me about responsibility? You? Do you have any idea what real responsibility looks like? Do you know what it's like to carry the weight of an entire institution on your shoulders? I don't, Anderson admitted. But that doesn't change the fact that I'm here to do an interview, and you're making that impossible by deflecting every question. Deflecting? Harry's voice cracked with anger. I'm not deflecting. I'm trying to have a conversation, but you keep attacking me. I haven't attacked you once, Anderson said firmly. Not once. I've been nothing but respectful, but I'm not going to sit here and let you avoid answering questions just because you don't like them. That's not fair to our viewers, and it's not fair to me. Harry pointed his finger at Anderson. Fair? You want to talk about fair? Nothing about my life has been fair. Nothing. And now you're sitting here in your comfortable chair, in your comfortable studio, judging me. I'm not judging you, Anderson said, his patience clearly wearing thin, but his professionalism still intact. I'm interviewing you. There's a difference. No, there isn't, Harry insisted. Every question is a judgment. Every word you say is dripping with condescension. I can hear it in your voice. I can see it on your face. Anderson paused, taking a moment to collect himself. The tension in the studio was thick. Harry, I think we need to take a step back here. This conversation has gone off the rails. Let's try to reset and start fresh. Can we do that? Reset? Harry laughed again, this time more harshly. There's nothing to reset, Anderson. You've shown your true colors. You've shown everyone watching what this really is. It's a hit job. That's all it ever was. It's not a hit job, Anderson said, his voice firm now. You're being paranoid and defensive for no reason. I've given you every opportunity to share your perspective, to talk about your work, to connect with the audience. But instead, you're having a meltdown on live television. That word seemed to strike a nerve. Harry's face turned even redder. A meltdown? Did you just say I'm having a meltdown? Yes, Anderson said simply. Because that's what this is. You came here expecting softball questions and praise. That's not what I do. I ask real questions, and when you couldn't handle that, you fell apart. Harry stood up from his chair completely now, his hands gripping the armrests. I did not fall apart. How dare you say that to me? You have no right. I have every right, Anderson said, standing as well to match Harry's energy. This is my show, my studio, and you're a guest here, a guest who is being incredibly disrespectful right now. Disrespectful? Harry's voice was almost a shout now. You're calling me disrespectful? After everything you've said? After the way you've treated me? I've treated you with nothing but professionalism, Anderson said, his voice raised now but still controlled. You're the one who came in here with an attitude. You're the one who refused to answer simple questions. You're the one who turned this into a confrontation. Because you provoked me, Harry yelled. You sat there with your smug face and your pointed questions, and you provoked me. This is exactly what you wanted, isn't it? To make me lose my temper so you could have your viral moment. Anderson shook his head, genuine disappointment on his face. If you really think that's what this is about, then you've completely missed the point. I don't need viral moments, Harry. I've been doing this for 30 years. I care about journalism. I care about truth. And right now, you're not interested in either of those things. Harry took a step toward Anderson, his face contorted with rage. Don't you dare question my integrity. Don't you dare stand there and act like you're better than me. You're nothing but a talking head reading off a teleprompter. I am a prince. I have a legacy. What do you have? The audience gasped. Anderson stared at Harry for a long moment, his expression unreadable. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet but cutting. I have my dignity, which is more than I can say for you right now. That seemed to be the final straw. Harry's face twisted with fury. That's it. I'm done. I'm done with you, and I'm done with this pathetic show. You'll regret this, Anderson. You'll regret the way you spoke to me. The only person who should have regrets right now is you, Anderson said. You came here and embarrassed yourself in front of millions of people. That's on you, not me. Harry grabbed his microphone and ripped it off his jacket, throwing it onto the chair. I don't have to listen to this. I don't have to sit here and be insulted by someone like you. Someone like me? Anderson repeated. What does that mean exactly? Harry didn't answer. Instead, he turned to leave the set, but Anderson wasn't finished. You know what your problem is, Harry? You think the world owes you something. You think because of your title, because of your last name, that you deserve special treatment. But you don't. Not here. Not on this show. Here, everyone is equal, and you couldn't handle that. Harry spun around, his eyes blazing. Equal? You think we're equal? You think you're on my level? That's hilarious, Anderson. That's truly hilarious. I never said we were equal, Anderson replied. I said everyone who sits in that chair gets treated the same way, with respect and with tough questions. You're the one who made this about status and hierarchy, not me. Harry moved closer to Anderson, his fists clenched at his sides. You're a bully. That's what you are. You hide behind your journalism and your reputation, but you're just a bully. Anderson didn't back down. And you're a spoiled child who never learned how to handle criticism. That's the real issue here. You can't handle anyone questioning you or pushing back against your narrative. So you lash out, you throw tantrums, just like you're doing right now. The security guards near the edge of the set started moving closer, sensing the situation was escalating beyond a normal interview disagreement. Harry noticed them, and his expression grew even more hostile. Are you seriously threatening me right now? Harry demanded. Are you having security come over here to intimidate me? Nobody's intimidating you, Anderson said calmly. But this interview is over. You made that clear when you ripped off your microphone and started hurling insults. I didn't hurl insults, Harry protested. I spoke the truth. If you can't handle the truth, that's your problem. The truth? Anderson let out a short laugh. You haven't said anything truthful this entire interview. You've dodged questions, played the victim, and acted like a spoiled brat. That's not truth. That's a performance. Harry's hands were shaking now. Whether from anger or adrenaline, it was hard to tell. I am not performing. This is who I am. This is me standing up for myself against someone who clearly has an agenda. My only agenda is good journalism, Anderson said. But you wouldn't know good journalism if it hit you in the face, because you only want people to tell you what you want to hear. You only want praise and validation. Well, sorry, but that's not what you're going to get here. Harry looked around the studio, at the cameras still rolling, at the audience watching in stunned silence, at the crew members frozen in place. This is insane. You're all insane. I came here in good faith, and this is what happens. You didn't come here in good faith, Anderson countered. You came here expecting a platform to promote yourself without any pushback, and when you didn't get that, you couldn't handle it. One of the producers stepped onto the set, speaking quietly to Anderson. He nodded, then turned back to Harry. I think it's time for you to leave. Oh, I'm leaving, Harry said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Don't worry about that. But this isn't over, Anderson. People will hear about this. They'll hear about how you treated me, how you disrespected me. Let them hear about it, Anderson said. I have nothing to hide. Everything that happened here is on camera. People can watch it and make up their own minds about who was in the wrong. Harry laughed bitterly. Of course you'd say that. You control the edit. You control what people see. You'll make yourself look like the hero and me like the villain. I don't need to make you look like anything, Anderson said. You did that all by yourself. That seemed to be the breaking point. Harry lunged forward slightly, and the security guards immediately stepped between him and Anderson. Don't touch me, Harry snapped at them. Get your hands off me. Nobody's touching you, one of the guards said calmly. But we need you to leave the studio now. I'm going, Harry said, shaking off the guard's proximity. But mark my words, Anderson Cooper. You will regret this day. You will regret the way you treated me. Anderson stood his ground, his expression unchanged. The only thing I regret is giving you this platform in the first place. I thought you had something meaningful to say. I was wrong. Harry's face contorted one last time. You'll see. Everyone will see. I'll make sure of it. With that, Harry turned and stormed off the set, the security guards following close behind to make sure he left the building. The studio fell silent. The audience didn't know whether to applaud or sit in shocked silence. They chose silence. Anderson stood there for a moment, collecting himself. Then he turned to the camera, his professional composure returning. Well, he said, his voice measured, that certainly didn't go as planned. We invited Prince Harry here today to have a conversation about his work and his perspective. Unfortunately, as you all just witnessed, he wasn't interested in having that conversation. He paused, choosing his words carefully. I want to be clear about something. I have tremendous respect for anyone who has lived through trauma, who has struggled with the pressures of public life. That's real and that matter. But respect doesn't mean immunity from questions. It doesn't mean we turn off our critical thinking. And it certainly doesn't mean we accept behavior like what you just saw. Anderson sat back down in his chair, the empty seat across from him, a stark reminder of what had just transpired. In all my years of doing this job, I've interviewed thousands of people. World leaders, celebrities, activists, ordinary people with extraordinary stories. And I've always tried to approach every conversation with fairness and respect. But I also ask tough questions. That's my job. That's what journalism is supposed to be. He looked directly into the camera. What you saw here today wasn't me being unfair or disrespectful. It was me doing my job. And unfortunately, our guest couldn't handle that. He came here expecting one thing and got another. He expected softball questions and got real journalism. And his response was to have a complete meltdown. Anderson shook his head slightly. I'm disappointed, not angry, just disappointed. Because I really did want to have a meaningful conversation. I wanted to understand his perspective, to give him a chance to share his truth with millions of people. But he threw that opportunity away. The camera stayed on Anderson as he continued. You know, there's a difference between confidence and entitlement. Confidence is knowing your worth and standing up for yourself when necessary. Entitlement is expecting the world to bend to your will and throwing a fit when it doesn't. What you saw today was entitlement, pure and simple. He leaned back in his chair. I've been accused of a lot of things over the years. Being too tough, too soft, too liberal, too conservative, you name it, I've heard it. But one thing I've never been accused of is being unfair. I treat everyone the same way. I ask tough questions, and I expect honest answers. That's the deal. That's always been the deal. Anderson's voice grew quieter but more intense. And if someone can't handle that, if someone thinks they're above basic accountability, then maybe they shouldn't be doing interviews. Maybe they should stick to carefully scripted appearances where nobody challenges them. Because that's clearly what some people want. They want applause, not questions. They want validation without examination. He stood up again, addressing the studio audience now. I want to thank all of you for being here today and for witnessing what just happened. I know it was uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable for me too. But sometimes uncomfortable moments reveal important truths. And the truth revealed today is that some people simply cannot handle being treated like everyone else. The audience began to applaud, slowly at first, then building to a strong, sustained ovation. Anderson nodded his thanks, then turned back to the camera. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue with our scheduled programming. But I wanted to address what just happened head on because I think we all deserve that clarity. As the show cut to commercial, Anderson sat down heavily in his chair, the weight of what had just happened finally seeming to hit him. A producer rushed over with water, and Anderson took a long drink, his hands slightly shaking, not from fear or uncertainty, but from the adrenaline of standing his ground against someone who expected preferential treatment. Behind the scenes, the producers were already in crisis mode. Phone calls were being made, statements were being drafted, legal teams were being consulted. This was going to be a story that dominated the news cycle for days, maybe weeks. Everyone knew it, but Anderson wasn't worried. He had done his job. He had asked fair questions and maintained his professionalism, even when his guest had completely lost control. The footage spoke for itself. Anyone watching would see exactly what had happened. There was no ambiguity, no gray area. Prince Harry had come onto the show expecting to be treated like royalty, and when he was treated like everyone else, he couldn't handle it. Back in the studio, as they prepared to return from commercial, Anderson took one more deep breath. His producer gave him a thumbs up. The cameras were about to go live again, and Anderson Cooper, veteran journalist and consummate professional, did what he always did. He continued with the show because that's what real professionals do. They don't let entitled guests derail them. They don't let tantrums and threats shake their resolve. They do their job with integrity and let the chips fall where they may. And on this day, in this studio, in front of millions of viewers, Anderson Cooper had done exactly that. He had stood his ground, maintained his principles, and refused to be bullied by someone who thought their title made them special. It was a masterclass in professionalism, in journalism, and in not backing down when faced with someone who expects the world to bow to them. The interview that was supposed to be a platform for Prince Harry to share his message had instead become a cautionary tale about entitlement, about the importance of accountability, and about what happens when someone who is used to deference encounters someone who values truth more than titles. As the cameras came back on and Anderson continued with the rest of his show, one thing was crystal clear. On this day, in this moment, journalism had won, integrity had won, and no amount of royal fury could change that fact.